Hello to everybody, and thank you those who could join us and who couldn't. Of course, we will share our presentation via our channel. But I really glad and really proud to announce our today's guest speaker, Wolfgang Knieski, who really one of the pioneer, I would say, and really, not just joining different projects, but really was inspiring and really, I would say, initiating a lot of projects and a lot of interesting things. So I really would like to pass floor to Wolfgang and to listen a bit, of course, about yourself and of course about digital space in Europe and how all new tendencies which are going on, and of course about EU Progigant. I would say this is the most interesting thing which is going on right now in Europe in a digital space. Thank you, Wolfgang, for your time and for having opportunity to join us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Olga. Hello and welcome, everybody. I'm very honored and proud to have the opportunity to talk to you today about new generation that manufacturing companies will face in Europe, which will be data sharing and making business with data sharing and cooperation and data ecosystems. We at EIT Manufacturing are the responsible entity in a huge European consortium to not only to develop the data ecosystems, but to develop new business opportunities for companies. And I would like to talk a little bit about it to make you acquainted with the activities, to introduce you into the new philosophies of making manufacturing in Europe more competitive. But before I go into the detail, I would like to introduce myself a little bit. So my name is Wolfgang Knieski. I'm more than 40 years. I started my own innovation management company in 2004 to help startups all over Europe to get access to market and to get access to investors. I also was contracted by several governments, and not only Europe, in the meantime, all over the world, to develop concepts for technology transfer centers, for incubators, accelerators, always with the goal to identify the best startups and to help them getting established and getting growing. And with this success stories, I think I have in the meantime supported more than 600 companies on international level. And with this success, EIT, the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, contacted me in 2013 and asked me to develop their accelerator in the EIT digital community. So the idea was that the digitalization should be supported in different sectors, like in smart cities, in manufacturing, other industries, in transport and mobility, and so on and so on. And the idea was to build an accelerator to help startups to grow, not only locally, but internationally, and to have this international collaboration as USP. And I accepted this, and I built the EIT Digital Accelerator successfully. So at the end, we had in 2014 already 60 people taking care of a lot of startups, and we had a lot of success stories and bringing money to the startups and bringing new customers to the startups. And then EIT, the European Institute of Innovation Technology, decided to start a new innovation entity, a new knowledge community in manufacturing. Manufacturing is, as you might know, one of the most important contributor to the European welfare and to the European wealth. In the European economies, the average contribution to the gross national products is 18%. In Germany, we have 25% contribution of the manufacturing sector. to our economy, which is very important. And this is mainly driven by the many, many small and medium entities, not only by the big companies. So manufacturing is important, but manufacturing needs also support to be competitive against entities, products, services coming from the US, but also from Far East Asia. And the question is how to do it. And the EIT philosophy is to support it via innovation funding, to support it by upskilling and reskilling people, make them aware of the needs for innovation in manufacturing, and also by supporting startups so that startups create new innovations and bring them to the market with the support of EIT Manufacturing as soon as possible. And in the context of EIT Manufacturing, I also built then the business creation team, the startup support team, and again, we created a lot of success stories. And for age reasons, I retired last year in July, but I was asked by EIT if I could help them in a very strategic project to make the European manufacturing market ready for data cooperation and data sharing. This strategic project is funded jointly by the German and the Austrian government. It's called EUPRO-GIGANT, and it stands for the European Production Giga Network. And the goal of this project is to build an infrastructure, a technical infrastructure and a community infrastructure in which European manufacturing companies can share data efficiently to get more competitive. And I will not talk so much about the technical aspects today, but I will talk about what I did in the project. So take the technical architecture as given and understand how manufacturing companies in Europe can benefit from this technical infrastructure and architecture. So at the end, we ask ourselves the question, if we build this data ecosystems, and especially we build data ecosystem for the manufacturing company, how can we run this profitably, and how can we help the European manufacturing companies and startups to act in the ecosystem, also with profits, efficiencies, and other benefits. Before we go into the detail, let me talk briefly about the paradigms of value creation. So historically, the manufacturing companies were characterized by analog product-centric activities. Just produce machines, produce tools, produce medical equipment, produce textiles, produce results in the agriculture sector, and so on and so on. So manufacturing is very broad, and it was, until 20 years ago, really oriented at productization, product creation. And then new ideas came up how to make manufacturing companies more competitive, and the service orientation started. The philosophy was created 20 years ago that if you provide not only products, but also related services, you can make much more money. So slowly the first companies offered maintenance. Not only produces car, the automotive sectors offered additional services, guarantees for exchanging wheels from winter to summer and from summer to winter, guaranteeing of free repairs, and so on and so on. So many services came up in the automotive sector. And now the companies make more money with services than with the car as such. Or look into the printer production. Yeah, you can buy a printer today for 50 euro, but you pay the same amount of money every 2 months if you want to buy a new toner. And this toner is a service. So this servitization started 20 years ago, and today all companies harvest from it. The question is now, what will be next? And next is the digitalization, the digital transformation, using innovative technologies to be more efficient, to improve processes, and to start into a new competitive area. And this new digitalization is going on slowly. The big companies in Europe, the car producers, the pharmaceutical companies, the companies in the aerospace sector, they have already digitalized their services and their production. So before a new plane is being built, they build it all virtually. And they simulate all production processes virtually to understand what kind of machines they know, what kind of tasks have to be accomplished, at what place, in which space, at which sites, with how many resources, and so on and so on. But the digitalization has to go on also in small and medium companies. Yeah. Some processes in which humans are involved will be replaced by robots. And as a consequence, the humans will not lose their working space. As a consequence, the humans will be upscaled. And instead of welding or polishing tools, components, products, they will now learn how to steer, how to plan the robots, the robot passes, so that the robots can weld, can polish, and so on and so on. So we are just in the stage that we innovate in many, many areas, and that in line with the innovation, we have a significant upskilling of human resources, so that human resources get more flexible, get highly qualified, and get so needed in higher qualified jobs and higher paid jobs. This is ongoing, and this is ongoing seriously and significantly in big companies, but has also to be followed by SMEs. And now you can imagine if companies start to digitalize, a lot of data are being created. Data about predictive maintenance, when I have to shut down my machine to maintenance the machine. If I don't shut it down in time, if I don't maintain the machine in time, the machine will produce waste, failures, or scrap. And it was just the experience of the production manager to decide when the machine has to be shut down. Now, artificial intelligence algorithm track the data around the machine, the temperature, the shaking of the ground, the number of parts that are being produced by the machine, and the algorithms come up with suggestions when a machine has to be shut down to be maintained. And as a result of this algorithm, there is less scrap production, there's less failure production, and there's a higher efficiency of the machine. Even companies can optimize their shifts. This is the result. And now you can imagine if one company is using such an artificial intelligence algorithm to predict when the machine best have to be shut down. And if this company is sharing this experience, this data, this information with other companies that are using the same machines, then the algorithm as such gets smarter. And the entire environment gets smarter and gets more competitive, gets more efficient. And this is only one example. So what I'm stating in the next slide is the data utilization in the manufacturing industry offers numerous potentials for improving the business potential and the business performances. Just as given with the one example of artificial intelligence for predictive maintenance. You can talk about the example of AI for quality assurance. You can talk about automation, robotics, and so on. There are many, many examples. And companies start to recognize the potential and want to unlock them through new business models. With other words, in the same way, 20 years ago, companies started to think, oh, wow, if I also I can make much more money. Now companies start to think, oh, if I share data, if I share information, even with competitors, I unlock new business models, data-driven business models. I will be more efficient. And this is proven by many, many studies that projects came up with and that showed how it goes. And the failure to generate sustainable economic benefits for companies are significantly decreasing. And this is what we show in our EuProGigant project, and this is now rolled out to the entire manufacturing industry in Europe. And as a result, with this insufficient economic evaluation of projects and lack of consideration of customer interest and added value, the companies were not so productive before. And they have now the chance to unlock this potential and by unlocking this potential, increase the opportunities to save cost, to make more revenues, and to create value out of the data. We think always in this triangle of wisdom. Yeah, at the bottom of the triangle, you find data. And if you share data and if you use data smartly, you turn data into information. And if you use the data even more smarter, then you can turn the data into knowledge. And at the top of the pyramid, if you use the data fully smart, then you can turn the data even into wisdom. We are far away from this in manufacturing, but we are on the way to turn data into information and knowledge. And this is important. And if you look at the next picture here, you see that data cooperation apply in many, many areas of manufacturing processes. I mentioned maintenance in fault diagnosis, prediction of remaining service life, adaptive error compensation, failure reduction, and so on and so on. It happens also in the entire production process, root cause analysis for disruptions, predicting the production output. It happens in quality management, quality improvement, discovering of failure production. It happens in the process optimization, prediction of process characteristics or root cause analysis for process errors. So if you start at the beginning of the process, when it comes to put human resources, materials into the production or purchase resources, or if you look at the end when it comes to the distribution of the produced results, everywhere data cooperation can create benefit. And this is what companies now learn. This is why we are in the next generation of having manufacturing in Europe. And what we did to understand how to make this sustainable, we looked at many, many different stakeholders. And we asked ourselves, who benefits from this? Who could be interested in this? Whom do we have to approach in order to teach them how to go into data cooperation? I talked about the big corporations here. I talked about the importance of addressing this also to mid-cap companies. They exist 200 years. They are world market leaders in many, many manufacturing niches, but they need to ask themselves, what do I have to do to be more competitive? I talked about SMEs that we have to approach, but there's more. We can help startups to develop new technologies for data sharing. And it helps startups to get their automation technologies or AI technologies faster to the market. It helps manufacturing associations to help their members getting more competitive. It helps certifying organizations to certify new processes of manufacturing. It helps employees or workers because they get less burdened. They have more efficient shifts, get upskilled, qualified. It helps the government because more competitive companies bring in more revenues, pay more taxes, and so on and so on. There are many, many, many stakeholders, many, many interested people. And to understand now how the relations between the stakeholders were, we looked into the so-called value chain analysis. We said, if you want to share data, this has to be federated. This has to be orchestrated. Companies will never collaborate among each other to share data because they need a certain level of trust. Somebody who provides data for data sharing wants to know where do my data go? Who is using my data? Companies that buy data want to understand where are those data coming from? Are this real data? Are this fake data? And so on and so on. So you need a regulated, certified, standardized organization in the meantime that offers data cooperation as a service, that provides a legal framework which makes it trustworthy, which makes it secure, which makes data cooperation safe. And we analyzed the different stakeholders, if what is the relationship? What kind of products, services, or data flow? What kind of information flows? What is the money flow? What is the quality of life flow? And also from the federator to a consumer, the same. What is the product or service flow? What is the information flow, the quality of life flow, and the money flow? And we have drawn this value flow in several pictures. Here's an example of manufacturing companies as a flow of data, services, information. They can send algorithms to share, requirement information for installing innovation. They can send raw data or analyze data. They can send feedback of new technologies implemented, and they receive a compensation for the information that they provide. And the federator then can use those data to give them directly to consumers, or even put them into analysis and provide analyzed data or aggregated data to the consumers, maybe with recommendations and suggestions. The more services will be offered, the higher the prices, of course. But the federator can also do forecast, can provide data sovereignty, access to ecosystem partners, and would get a compensation for this service. So there's a real flow of any kind of values between providers of data and consumers of data, if the federator in the middle does the job properly. If you put all these flows for all the stakeholders together, not only for manufacturing companies, but also for universities, telecom companies, cloud providers, and so on, you get this picture of a so-called multi-sided business model. The federator and orchestrating organization in the middle can approach businesses, corporations, SMEs, micro SME startups, and you have a federator to business model. And if the businesses involve their workers, employees, you have even a federator to business to customers or consumers business model. If you approach standardization bodies, manufacturing associations, you have a federator to NGO business model, federator to government, and so on and so on. And this is the service of providing data and providing a network of secure data exchange. But also in the background, there is business option. Universities and research organizations are interested to work with real data. They don't get them today. Very often they take data out of the blue for their research. This can be changed if data are being provided from the real production life. And even e-commerce companies like telecom companies, for example, can benefit. They can understand where the biggest data volume is managed in the manufacturing process, so that they can provide 5G or faster connections or cloud services. So with other words, there are multiple options to create business. And this is for the federator very important, because we have the chance in this multi-sided business model to have not linear business models, but a platform business model in which the federated services is offered by a central neutral organization, but decentralized into an ecosystem. And this was the lessons learned. And we said, okay, this is why we have to build the Olpudi-Gunn federator and to give this entity a governance structure. So this entity needs a technical architecture, functional operations, legal framework, process organization, and resources. And we started to do it. Technical architecture. So you need data interoperability. If data flows from one company to another via the federator, there need different formats, interfaces to make the data exchange easy. But this has also be tracked. It has to be traceable to find out where the data is coming from and where the data is going to. You need the entire data sovereignty and trust framework, access and usage policies and control, identity management, trust services. Every participant has to be registered and acknowledge that the participant is allowed to participate in data sharing. And you need the data value creation, data services offerings, data descriptions, a catalog where data can be published and can be bought, marketplaces and accounting, contracts, payment schemes, and so on. So you need data space connection services. This is everything which is framed in blue. You need registry services to give credentials participants, and you need the value creation, the federated services, which is achieved by this orchestrator, as we are calling it. So it's very complicated. I will not go deeper into the architecture, but just haven't talked about this so that you know what was done in the project and what kind of infrastructure has to be established if you want to make trusted data sharing happen. And this was accomplished in the Olpudi-Gunn project. And then we said, okay, now we have to put it in a process organization. So in the first step of the process, we only deal with onboarding and compliance. So we give credentials to participants. Every participant can approach us and say, I'm interested to share my data, or I am interested to consume data. And there has to be a process how those people get credentials and how the data set get credentials. We have to have a process that makes sure that the data are not fake data and that you even throw out people of the ecosystem which don't behave. Then you need the orchestration services, put the data into a catalog, make the catalog readable, understandable for those that want to buy data. And you have the contracting, data exchange services. So how to bring data from one company to another in a safe way, maybe via VPN tunnels, maybe via algorithms that you send to the customer so that the data can be uploaded there. So different ways to technically to handle it. You need payment schemes. And you need the monitoring so that you know what's going on and that you understand fail behavior. And this is all what we have set up. We have put all activities for data sharing with several use cases into this process organization. So now we are here, and now we are talking what resources do you need. And when you come to the resources, you see that there are a lot of value being created. So if you put data in the middle of data-driven business models, you can use it for quality improvement. You can use it to reduce your ecological footprint of the production. You can step into other opportunities for creating new revenue streams and cost saving. You can increase flexibility, build new supply chains, make the supply chains more resilient, put production and manufacturing back to Europe. Why do we have to ship things from China via Suez Canal to Europe? Make it attackable, make it depending on the geopolitical situation. As we had it several times ago, Europe was not able to receive chips anymore from China because one chip was blocked in the Suez Canal. Yeah, and if we put through data sharing, the production back into Europe, and we build new things which are less attackable, are more resilient. And this is the goal. These are the values. And it's easy to communicate this, but it's not so easy for SMEs to understand it. SMEs want to know, where is my personal value? Why should I go into data sharing? What is my benefit as a company? And this is why we looked at all the different use cases and said, okay, data sharing can create value. We were talking about generally, but it requires trustworthiness, security, sovereignty, interoperability, and transparency. And this transparency, this trustworthiness, this security, this technical level of data exchange, this is provided by the technical architecture. And the architecture is following so-called Gaia-X standards. The European Commission created 5 years ago a new de facto standard for data exchange. And this is a very nice regulation. This is a very nice standard because it protects European operators. And if in manufacturing, we have now the technical architecture to exchange data complying to the standard of Gaia-X, and if in the energy sector, some people do the same, and if in the logistics sector, other people do the same, you can easily exchange as member in manufacturing ecosystem, data with a member in the energy ecosystem, and you can exchange data with a member in the logistics ecosystem, and so on and so on. So this explains the X for Gaia-X. On the bottom of the X, you have all the technical architecture and the standardization framework. And on the top of the X, you have many, many, many ecosystems. And data can flow through the architecture from one ecosystem to another, and they are still trustable, they are still interoperable. This is what Gaia-X as a new de facto standard in Europe is doing. This makes Europe unique, and especially the manufacturing sector competitive. So we need the technical USPs, the technical unique selling propositions, which are provided by the Gaia-X regulations, but we also need the business USPs, the business values. And the next question is, how could those business values look like? And I will give into examples to show you how business values can be generated, can be created. Let's go in the manufacturing environment. Let's look at quality insurance technology. So producers are you putting cameras at the end of the assembly line. And these cameras scan the objects. And with an AI algorithm that is fed by the data from the camera, you can do surface inspection. You can detect scratches on the produced item. You can do weld seam inspection, understand if the welds are safe, secure, and at the right places. You can do presence control. You can count the objects. You can see if the labels are at the right spot. For all of this, you don't need humans anymore. Cameras, technologies can do it. And this reduces costs and time. And this reduces also scrap production. And now imagine that your AI algorithms are getting smarter, that you exchange those data and information from one producer to another. Then you reduce even more time. and you reduce even more scrap. You contribute also to a very positive ecological footprint. So many benefits just because of one scenario. Let's look into other scenarios. We can have collaborative condition monitoring, which allows to monitor assets, machines, avoid unplanned downtime, which also leads to cost and time savings, to reduction of downtime. You can share individualized KPI dashboards and understand how much products or units a machine can produce in a certain period of time, and what you have to do in order to make the machine more productive. You can have service offerings for optimization, optimized use of tools, and again, cost and time savings, reduction and downtimes. You can prevent workforce augmentation. You keep your workers, your manual workers, fit for work. Assume that you are an assembling line and that every time you have to do the same thing. Take something off, put something on the line. Take something off. It burdens the back, it burdens whatever parts of your body. Today's shifts take 3-4 hours, and then you have a break. But with new technologies, with exoskeletons and artificial intelligence, you can measure the burden of the worker. You can go to shift optimization. Now imagine that 10, 20 companies which have similar processes share their data about burdening workers and go to shift optimization. You have much more healthy workers. You have less sick days, less missing days. You have full capacity, can optimize the shift planning, and so on. Again, higher efficiency, cost and time saving. Let's look into the CO2 footprint. With data sharing, I understand what is the CO2 footprint for my entire value chain. And I can now virtually plan my CO2 footprint. I can say, if I want to produce a new component, I need this kind of polymer materials, I need this kind of steel, I need to bring them in via vessels, trains, trucks. So I have the producer of the footprint of the steel maker, the footprint of the polymer maker, footprint of the transportation cost. With the data sharing, I can share all this knowledge. And I can predict, if I produce a new component, what would be the footprint. And I can go into a reduced footprint by making decisions on different providers of steel, of polymers, on different ways of transport things. If I ship today 1 ton of raw materials from Singapore to Rotterdam, put them on a train and ship them forward to Munich, this is a big footprint, but I have to report it as a company. And in the future, I have to pay for my CO2 burdening of the environment. And the question is, how do I get the data from? I can go to the internet and find data somewhere, but I don't know if the data is reliable, if the data is true, or if the data is old. Maybe the data were measured with some container ship that brought the material with a diesel engine. And now a new container ship is bringing the material with a hydrogen-driven motors and engines, which has a totally different footprint. If you share this data in an ecosystem, you always have updated, secure, reliable data. This reduces reporting efforts and again, brings enormous time saving to the companies and to the management of those companies. Energy is an example. You get information via data sharing about weather, price conditions, load forecasts for energy. You can plan the production processes in a way that you avoid the peak loads, that you avoid the times during the day when the prices for the energy are the highest. And you can avoid wasting energy by understanding where in your process you can produce energy that at other places in your process you can use again. so reuse of your own energy. This can be accomplished via data sharing. This is another example about the benefits. So if you summarize all this, then you see that you have a lot of competitive advantages that data sharing brings: cost and time savings, reduction of downtime, reduction of scrap, energy efficiency, resource optimization, shift optimization, better use of human resources, less sick days of human resources, and so on. So this means the technology that you are using, machines, innovations, AI algorithms, get much more knowledgeable, get much smarter. And you have benefits, company values of smarter technologies, maybe better market access, new value chains, new supply chains, resilience, less emergency costs, and so on and so on. And this all together drives new business strategies. So companies in the future will go into data-driven business models, will establish through data-driven businesses new networkings and new partnerships. And this is just happening in Europe. This just started. But this is the future of manufacturing. So to conclude, by having the right partners in the manufacturing ecosystem, having the right access to relevant manufacturing data, building on the trusted infrastructure for data exchange, you can really release innovative services and data-driven business models. We prepare the manufacturing industry to go this way. And at the end, even for a federator, it's a business. This is why EIT Manufacturing is going to establish such a federator now. Yeah, because the federator, on the one hand, organizes the processes, runs a catalog where the data provider can put the data, where data consumers can access the catalog, can receive suggestions, connections to the provider, build their new supply chains, send their algorithms to the provider to receive the data or receive the data by other secure means, and pay for it. The data consumer pays the data provider. By orchestrating this business, by having a safe architecture for data sharing, transparent information, there's a possibility for a federator to get a commission, service fees, membership fees, or whatsoever. So there are many, many different monetization strategies possible. So all players somehow benefit. And this brings a lot of sustainability impact. This brings impact in terms of social governance, it brings economical impact and ecological impact. Let's look at some of the social aspects. So we have transparent communication of sustainability aspects. You know, the society knows where CO2 emissions are being created, how they can be avoided, which company of which I use products is more eco-friendly. I can react as a consumer to such information. You have human integration and inclusion as a result of being smarter on your workplace, being healthier on your workplace. And you have an orchestration of a fair and transparent ecosystem, which we need to build in Europe. And from a governance point of view, there is suddenly a new standard created by the European Commission. And this new standard is suddenly no longer a burden. This new standard is something that helps to be more competitive in the future. If you look at the old traditional way of making business, when the German company Trump invented something new, they wanted to have a standard. And it took 5 to 10 years to get the standard accepted. In this 5 to 10 years, the American company, which brought something new to the market at the same time, just sold it. And by selling the big mass of this product, they were setting the standard. So this was always a disadvantage for the European companies, especially for the Germans in manufacturing. Always US companies were setting the standard. Now it's the other way around. Now we are setting the standard as Europeans and benefit from it. And with data sharing on this given technical architecture, you make sure that you comply to other regulations like the European Supply Chain Act, like the AI Act, like the Data Governance Act. And this leads into economical aspects, as we have talked about it. Revenue streams as new potential, cost efficiencies and other efficiencies. And this has ecological aspects because you have the potential to build circular economies, to build resilience, and to gain transparency. For example, referring to the ecological footprint of produced products. This is why we say as Olprogigant, it was not only nice to have this funded projects. Yeah, for Olprogigant, we really had the chance to step into the next generation of manufacturing. We will drive it forward as EIT manufacturing. And we will make this happen so that participants can interact, services, compensations can be negotiated. At the end, not only the players in manufacturing companies benefit, but the entire society. From my point of view, Olprogigant provides vendor-neutral, business-friendly, and industry-grade open source tools for sharing data that can be exploited via innovative business models. This has all. Yeah, so we create a new marketplace which will make manufacturing in Europe really great again. This is what we are striving for. So this was the introduction of what we are doing, why we are doing things, and now it's your floor to ask questions, to discuss with me.
I have a question. It was very clear about the positive impact, right, on sustainability, what you mentioned, social, ecological, economical. But if it's speaking about like big consensus of the cars, let's for example. But what about competition? Because if you're completely transparent, I am the co-founder of Weaving Business and running production of carpets in Ukraine, exporting them to Europe. And of course, I can see always what is going on in Romania and Albania and Czechia and other countries where there's similar small productions. And it's a lot of secrets involved, competitiveness. Of course, some aspects are good, like ecology, like for example, footprint, because footprint for sure, it's a very good point. We have advantage of producing in Europe comparing, for example, to production in India or in Nepal, if we put this as an extra sales benefit. But still, how is it going with competition between the companies?
Yeah, very good question. I have there a very easy answer. So if you don't share the data, you produce something, have a product, have a related services, and all this stuff has a competitive advantage. Otherwise, you would not survive in the market. Maybe your competitive advantage is your smart maintenance of the product. Maybe the competitive advantage is some feature of the product. There are different competitive advantages which you play, so that your product gets bought. These competitive advantages don't disappear.
Okay.
Yes. But by digitalizing your production process, you can create those competitive advantages smarter and with higher efficiency and with ecological impact. But you keep the competitive advantages and you will not share your product characteristics with your competitor. You just share lessons learned about machines, about uses of energies, about avoiding quality issues, and so on and so on. And you as a provider of data have it in your hands what kind of data you want to provide. Nobody can force you to provide the entire set of data. You will not be asked to disclose your CAD.
Frozen?
For the benefit of a competitive society.
Interesting. But for the big companies, I understand it's super beneficial, and you can have some special department who will deal with this, provide information, get information. But if to consider this presentation is for the, I would say, small and middle-sized businesses, mainly run by women, and we are really focused on our main task: produce, get money, get paid, get a new client. So very focused. We don't have actually maybe too much resources, extra resources for collecting data, this and that. Of course, we're trying to do for our own benefits, maybe to understand, value our efficiency, but not maybe much thinking how we can share, how we can use for big future, how really it can be implemented if you want to be part of your system, not without paying money, but maybe contributing with some information.
Absolutely.
Is it really for small business?
Yeah, it is. And the point is, it's, I think, even more beneficial for small business than for the corporates. So if you look into automotive, to give an example, automotive have set supply chains. So the corporate OEM, the Volkswagen, the Mercedes, the Lamborghini of this world, they go to their tier one suppliers and say, I want this in this format, in this shape, at this and this time, in this whatever number of products. Yeah, and the tier one has to say yes, otherwise they are out. And the tier one goes to the tier two and says the same, and they go to the tier three. So in automotive, we have a top-down dictation of what formats, what forms products have, what formats data have, and so on and so on. From my point of view, it's not so much needed there. But if you leave the world of the big corporates, of the big OEMs, and go into manufacturing, where the small companies are the drivers of our wealth, yeah, then it's especially important for them. And you are absolutely right. When I introduced this to an SME, yeah, the company owner's first reaction is a typical German question word with 2 letters, with 2 digits. Hä? Yeah, what do you mean? Yeah, how shall I do it? Yeah, who has the resources to do it?
Yes.
But then you explain, yes, your machine or your system is generating the data either way. Yeah, and we have connectors in our technical architecture so that your system can communicate with the system of others. And the data sharing is controlled. You can track it, you can trace it. You know where the data is coming from, where the data is going through. But you are absolutely right. This needs, at the beginning, initial implementation effort. It's an investment into human resources and maybe into data connectors. Yeah, but this investment will pay off at a certain period of time. And from our point of view, fast enough, because you have multiple benefits. And this is what companies have to understand. So our biggest barrier at the moment is that we need a lot of salespeople, a lot of people that go around in the manufacturing world and demystify, yeah, teach SMEs what to do. I'm developing now my own educational program that we roll out via the Gaia X Academy, via the EIT Manufacturing Academy, via other players, so that we teach SMEs about the advantages. It will not go from today to tomorrow. It needs time. And as I said at the beginning, 20 years ago, we started to go into servitization. Now we are there. Yeah, and it will take time to go into digitalization. SMEs are not there yet. SMEs have Excel sheets and paperwork, yeah, to plan the lots that have to be produced at the machines. Yeah, but
exactly.
When we get there, yeah, they will know that it's only a small step further.
One more question. Sorry, I think I have too much questions. Most of our girls here, I know at least maybe 60%, were from textile industries. So we're in sewing, all kinds of baby beds manufacturing, some textile. What is the main focus of your platform? Is it more technical, like machines? It's like cars, it's heavy industry, it's metal, I don't know. Or is it also quite, how much data is about textile? Like how much about carpets?
Yeah, super question again. And go ahead and ask, because everybody will benefit, I think. There's no problem. So this happens in different sectors. And as I said, the Gaia X standard architecture strives for interoperability. So that one sector can benefit from the other sector as well, for example, to measure energy consumption. Now, looking into the specifics of textiles, we have several circumstances. First of all, in textile industry, 60 or 70% is produced to waste by intention. Yeah, there are many clothes not being sold at the end, but the shops have to be provided with different sizes, different colors, and so on and so on. And after the moda cycle ends, it's being returned. So there are, let's say, second level design. There are companies, shops that sell clothes that have been designed and sold 1 year ago or 6 months ago, and you get it for less money. And still, at the end, a lot of textiles remain that just go to waste. So by building new supply chains and by managing to get the production through data information more oriented to the real demand, yeah, you help already out there. This is the first thing. Second thing, there is a lot of automation need in textile industry. There are today robots that count the number of elements of the yarns or raw products that have been produced. They grab the textiles. If you are at the cutting of the textiles, yeah, all the cutted stuff gets up and gets stacked. Yeah, and humans are taking this from one place to another and counting, or 10 pieces of here and 10 pieces of there. This has to be automated. This is what robots have to do. And this leads to a lot of new generation of processes in the textile industry. And this makes the people that are doing this counting much smarter, because they program the robots and they get more flexible. They can be used in other sectors. Again, multiple benefits. And all this data, yeah, needs to, the data need to be generated. The data needs to be understood and then communicated to all manufacturing entities in the textile sector. And then the sector will get smarter and more efficient. And this is very important for Europe, because the textile business ran out of Europe. Yeah, the textile business went to Vietnam, to Indonesia, to India. We don't know what are the working conditions there. And the raw materials are coming with such high ecological footprint that's not affordable for the society in a long time. Especially in the textile sector, the Data Corporation will establish new supply chains and value chains. Suddenly, we will move textile production back to Romania, to Bulgaria, to Moldavia, to Ukraine, to Czech Republic. You see, and there is a competitive advantage as well. And this will happen from my point of view. So not talking about oil propaganda only as EIT Manufacturing, we are going to start a big project next year where we promote this data sharing and we promote the establishment of digital product passports. This will come. And in Europe, this is only done for the batteries now, but every other sector has to follow. And this digital product passport gives you information about the ecological footprint for every data. And one of the sectors that we target is textile, because their data sharing brings the biggest efficiency in. Yeah, so very good question, but I hope that you understand why we also target this sector.
But I'm actually looking forward when I get this digital passport, because for me, being producing carpet shipping to Europe, of course, being published, as soon as you publish the ecological footprint, it will be a huge benefit. Because I know, I would say, major top European brands, very well established, Belgium, German, French, Italian, there's nothing produced any longer in Europe. It's everything produced in India, Pakistan, and those countries, but still keeping the European brand names established 100 years ago.
Yes.
So of course, maybe this will stimulate them to move their production to, like you mentioned, Romania, Moldavia, Ukraine.
Yes.
Considering that the labor cost, I would say, I assume, of course, higher than in Nepal, but still lower than in France, and it will have some benefits, but it should be balanced with the salary cost and logistic cost.
Absolutely. And if the companies have to buy later on shares on the stock market for the allowance to have CO2 emissions, you know, this will come. Yeah, then the license to do emissions plus the labor cost will be more efficient in Europe. Yeah, and this is why I'm very sure that the business will be moved back to Europe. I observe companies in Bulgaria and Romania now, and Croatia, yeah, that specialize on certain segments in the textile production. For example, military clothes have special yarns and all this stuff. Yeah, these textiles are no longer being produced in Far East Asia. The production is back in Europe, and other textile will follow.
Would Ukrainian companies participating in your program? Do you have already some participants where you collect data in Ukraine?
Yes, if you're interested. So we'd go to the rollout now. EuProGigant will be over in May. So we have proven with the use case that this is possible, that the technical architecture works. And we have proven also that we have a big challenge to get the companies in. So if you're interested in trial projects, for example, if you're interested to participate with your company as one of the test producers in this innovation valley that we'll establish from next year on, yeah, in different segments, just write me an email. I will not react immediately. I cannot promise something for just now, but if I have your expression of interest, I can consider it when we build this new project. No problem at all. And
I'm definitely positive because I believe that any kind of monitoring information will lead to the increase of efficiency. And we can see it even during this month after having some very interesting presentation with the other speakers and lean technology, even the small points that we learned during this course, and we start to monitor them in the production, they already give the first results even after 1 month.
Yes.
So I believe that your monitoring, even if it's like, I don't know how valuable it will be for you, but for sure it'll be more valuable for me.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So if you're interested to move your company as one of the testers into this, it helps all. It helps you and it helps us. Yeah, and what we will do when we build these new projects for different sectors, we will have our own call for proposals. So we want to build small consortia and allow in the consortia to several companies from the same sectors, but from different regions, to work together in order to build new supply chains. And this supply chains should implement data cooperation and produce also digital passports. This is the goal for the project, but this will start next year, as it's 2026 planned activity. But I'm working on this together with players in Germany, in Ireland, and in Spain. Yeah, and if you are interested to be part of it, if you want to, at the given point of time, not now, because now we are talking about many secrets, but at the given point of time when we launch this activity, are interested to get invited, write me an email. I will not forget it, and I will put it in my stack of letter of expressions. No problem at all.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Super. Thank you so much again for your time, for really opening us, you know, some our future, which I'm sure also will come to Ukraine, and we are looking forward for that. And yeah, and actually really thank you that you open opportunities for Ukraine, for Ukrainian companies, because really from 2022 we are eligible for many projects, and yes, and Ukrainian organizations, I mean, become a networking partner, and then me as a representative of AT manufacturing in Ukraine. We are really proud for that and thankful for that. and of course looking forward for next steps, because we really have big potential in Ukraine. I mean, manufacturing potential in Ukraine. That's why I really think that we really could, how to say, support also Europe to solve the problems with manufacturing, with coming back manufacturing from offshore countries. And yeah, and for us, of course, it's a big opportunity for developing our country, our economy, and yeah, and our lives.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. It was a pleasure for me. Just to give an anecdote at the end. So, because I have published all this in a white paper, and I have at the beginning of the session shared the link to the white paper in the chat, so you can access it and you can download the white paper and read through it and so on and so on. It's not a secret. Since I published,
Could you share it again, because I don't see it, probably because I joined from another
it's in the chat at the beginning.
Yes, no, if we join from another device, we don't see the previous chat. So I would be happy if you share it again, and I will share it with all our participants, because unfortunately not all of them could join it right now for many reasons. Yeah. And but again, the session is recording, and all materials will be at our e-learning platform, because we do have e-learning platform. And we will share it with everybody.
Yeah, so you can download the white paper. It talks about business models, and it's all explained there. And since I published the white paper in October last year at the event where you were present, we took the pictures with the ministers. I get a lot of invitations to talk about it, you know, and many universities approach me and say, "Oh, Professor Kniezki, can you come give a guest lecture?" and so on. Last week I was in Portugal, and I was at the Faculty of Engineering. I don't specify the university now. And there were many professors and PhD students around. But to be honest, the questions that were asked today were much smarter. So I see that you are in business and that you're concerned for it. So I like it very much. So this was pleasure for me and fun for me. So thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you. And looking forward for future opportunities.
And we will get your presentation, because I secretly actually make screenshots of your presentation, but we will get your presentation.
Yes. So I can send it to Olga, and then Olga will circulate it, and then you can.
Yes, please, Wolfgang, send me the presentation. Okay. I will download.
Yeah. So then all the best, and so
thank you very much.
Again, bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.